For the report of the chair, I have a statement I want to read. I'm just working to pull it up on my screen. Just give me a second. you Obviously, there's been a lot going on over the last week, not just here in our city, but throughout our entire nation and certainly over the entire world. People have been talking a lot about what's going on here in our country after the murder of George Floyd. So I have a short statement I want to share with the board and the community, and then I'll move us along the agenda. Society is riddled with injustices. We see them in our criminal justice system, our healthcare system, our economic system, and certainly in our public education system. These injustices that are often founded on racist ideals, institutionalized systems of winners and losers in society. Last Monday, May 25th, 2020, the world witnessed the murder of George Floyd, an unarmed Black man while in the custody of the Minneapolis Police Department. Over the last week, we've seen protests break out in cities all over the country, including right here in Portland, with citizens demanding justice. I understand that many of the people demonstrating in our streets are Portland Public Schools students, and I want to let them and the rest of our community that I stand in solidarity with them, demanding justice and equality for all. Watching the video of George Floyd's murder caused me physical pain. It triggered feelings of anger, frustration, fear, and hopelessness. I don't doubt that many of us have cried over the last week. Maybe you felt lost, exhausted, or sick. I just can't imagine that anyone watched that video and didn't feel the need to make things change for the better. Demonstrations, protests, public engagement are all necessary to dismantle systemic racism. Reacting to the video in these ways is pretty straightforward in the immediate aftermath of a tragedy. But the ongoing long-term work that must follow is where real change happens. Also necessary for real systemic change is a willingness from some of us to make real sacrifices, especially from those who stand to benefit from society's injustices, those who have privilege to spare. This school board has made a commitment to dismantling systemic and ongoing inequities as part of our Portland Promise equity goal. And I have to be honest, and I include myself in this statement, we've not been willing to make the type of sacrifices that real change requires. I want to be part of positive change. And I have made plenty of sacrifices to be in a position that facilitates change, but I cannot do it alone. Your action and commitment are critical in disrupting and transforming Portland Public Schools. We just finalized a budget process last week where we had several opportunities to stand firmly on our values, on the same values that we brag about when we mention the Portland Promise. And to be honest with you, we swung and missed. We swung and missed on several fronts. And I'm sharing my personal opinion, and I'm perfectly fine if you disagree with that. But I feel like we missed some opportunities to speak clearly to this community, not just the school community, but the greater community in Portland, of the type of sacrifices that we're asking people to make so that we can create systems that don't produce inequities. If we're committed to work that is based on anti-racism, then we need to acknowledge that what we're producing in our schools, the inequities that we're producing, make us a racist institution, because those inequities disproportionately affect primarily students of color. And if the organization that we're leading is creating inequitable results, then we're not doing our job, and we're certainly not standing by our Portland Promise. This is all very much tied to what we saw happen in Minneapolis. These small little daily nuances that we can just brush over and think that we can get to next year on a budget, or that we can postpone. Those are the things that just compound over and over again and create those gaps that we talk about, get deeper and further away from each other. I've said many times, particularly when we have new board members come in, that when we hear from people in our community, when we get emails, when we get phone calls, certainly when we have public hearings and people testify, that as much as we value that and we want to make space for that and we want to listen to those folks, that we really are not, and we really have not been able to listen to every voice in our community. And when we do listen to them, are we taking what they're saying into account? Are we really basing our decisions on what we're hearing people say? Or are we showing up already with our minds made up and decisions already made? Because if that's what we're doing, then we're not doing our job. And we're making things like what happened in Minneapolis, we're contributing to that. We really are, because an injustice anywhere, we all share the blame for those. Now, I don't doubt that everyone that's in this room, everyone that's in this meeting means to do well. And no one here, I think, wants to be part of negativity. No one here wants to burn things down or just walk away and then give up. We're all here committed to do this work. But we have to be real with each other. We have to. We can't just say cool things and use the hashtags and talk about the Portland Promise and say the right things. But then when it's time to make decisions, we can't walk away from them just because some people leaned on us a little bit heavy. So now that we're in the heat of the aftermath of a horrible tragedy, we have this energy behind us. I think it's on us, leaders of this district, to use that energy to advance our work, the work that we committed to doing years ago when we adopted the Portland Promise. If you're having trouble connecting the dots between the Portland Promise and the murder of George Floyd, I'd love to sit down and talk with you, because it's not that difficult to make the connections between those injustices. And they're all, like I said, rooted on racist ideals. And we have a responsibility and an opportunity as the leaders of a Portland Public School District to create some change and improve those conditions for people. So moving forward, I certainly hope that in between tragedies, we remain active and we remain engaged, and not just in the immediate aftermath.